Recently, I lamented the fact that an admission by the Department of the Treasury of the United States, mainly that gold stood as the primary collateral for Federal Reserve notes, was taken down shortly after I published my book. I firmly believe that an understanding of the nature of this collateralization of Federal Reserve notes is the key to understanding the price of gold as denominated in Federal Reserve notes. I'm happy to say that there appears to be other official publications that discuss the modern role of gold in our monetary system that can be used to demonstrate the gold backing of the Federal Reserve note, otherwise known as the dollar. I'm going to be discussing one today, the Financial Accounting Manual for the Federal Reserve Banks. It's available for anyone who is interested to download it, and it was published in April of 2024. So the government is not denying the role of gold, quite the opposite, but they are making it very hard for the average person to find it and understand it. So with that said, let me read a key section from it and provide you with some things to think about. Remember, as the most boring gold channel on YouTube, I see it as my obligation to thoroughly bore you about all things gold. The Secretary of the Treasury is authorized to issue gold certificates to the Federal Reserve Banks to monetize gold held by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. At any time, Treasury may reacquire the gold certificates by demonetizing the gold. Treasury maintains an account with the Board of Governors entitled Gold Certificate Fund, Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. When the Treasury monetizes gold, it credits this account in return for deposit credit at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. When demonetizing gold, Treasury decreases the account and authorizes the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to change its deposit account. The offsetting entry in each case on the Federal Reserve Bank of New York's books is made to the gold certificate account and the U.S. Treasury General account. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York accounting staff sends an advice of these entities to the board. Also, whenever the official price of gold is changed, which is currently $42.22 per troy ounce, Treasury adjusts the account and simultaneously the deposit account. The board maintains the account in the exact amount as shown on the Treasury's books at all times. The entries are made pursuant to advice from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the Treasury. The amount of gold certificates on each bank's balance sheet must agree with the total in the board's records. Monthly statements of the account are received from the Treasury and confirmed by the RBOPS Financial Accounting Policy and Reporting section. The board participates substantially all of the gold among Federal Reserve banks based upon Federal Reserve notes outstanding, with an additional amount allocated to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York as a cushion to accommodate Treasury sales during the year. By law, each bank may pledge all or any part of its account with the Federal Reserve agent as security for Federal Reserve notes. Prior to 1978, each bank pledged a specific amount which was then earmarked in the board's records on a separate ledger sheet, and thereafter was subject to and reduced only with prior approval from the Assistant Federal Reserve Agent. Beginning in 1978, each bank's holdings were pledged automatically pursuant to a continuing agreement. The amount of gold certificates pledged with the agent, currently the same as the balance sheet total from each bank, is reported on the daily statement of the Federal Reserve Agent, Form FR5, and is also confirmed periodically. The gold certificate account serves as the medium for effecting an annual settlement among the reserve banks for amounts accumulated in the interdistrict settlement account. Following an annual settlement, each bank's gold certificate account is restored relative to the average Federal Reserve notes outstanding through a reallocation of securities in the system open market account. Okay, so now we got through all the boring stuff. Well, at least some of it anyway. And believe me, there is a ton of boring stuff in this accounting manual. I just focused on the part that I found to be the least boring. What we've learned is that the U.S. Treasury monetizes gold and can demonetize gold. Some simple math will show that essentially all of the Treasury gold has been monetized. We also learned that the gold certificate account is used as the means of monetization. The dollar value of the certificate account is set based upon the statutory price of gold, which is currently $42.22 per troy ounce. Each Federal Reserve Bank pledges its stock of gold certificates as collateral in return for physical Federal Reserve notes. and the gold certificate account of each bank is adjusted annually as a settlement mechanism for interdistrict trade. In other words, the Federal Reserve banks are using gold certificates as their money for settlement transactions. Gold is money, folks. We citizens settle in physical Federal Reserve notes, but the regional banks use gold in settlement. Obviously, this all has implications, and let me leave you with a couple things to think about before I release my next video. Here is Table 7 of the most recent Federal Reserve H401 report. Table 7 is collateral. Notice it shows a line for the gold certificate account. This account has a nominal dollar value just north of $11 billion. At the statutory price of $42.22 per troy ounce, this equates to 261.4 million troy ounces, which is just about 8,130 metric tons, and is just about the entire gold stock of the U.S. Treasury. Now, there's some additional gold that's held as working stock for the mint, but that amount is pretty small. Now, if the U.S. government practiced mark-to-market accounting, the gold certificate line would be $644 billion, a full 58 times what it is now. So the U.S. balance sheet would look about $500 billion stronger using mark-to-market accounting than it does using the statutory price accounting. Now, I'll leave you with the following questions to ponder. First, if the Treasury announced that it would change the statutory gold price to a specific, call it a magic number, what magic number would be required in order to pay off all of the U.S. debt? Further, how would the government need to proceed to make such an adjustment to the price? So these are just some things to think about. I'll see you all in a little while. For now, I have a barn to jack up and to reinforce. So anyway, I'll leave you with this. Gold. Get you some.